Welcome back to part 2 of Next on the Tee. We're not done yet. Coming up, more stories, more insight, and more reasons to love this game. Let's dive right back in. Part 2 starts now, right here on Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better.
Hey, Next on the Tee Nation, thank you so much for coming back and joining me for part 2 of this very special episode featuring my conversation with the great Hal Sutton. As you guys know, Hal has become a wonderful friend over the years. This time around, we'll talk about everything going on down at his wonderful club, the Darmoor Club outside of Houston. Wonderful design, great accolades. Looking forward to hearing about how things are going there and if perhaps we'll get another design from Hal in the not-too-distant future. We'll also look back to his Ryder Cup experience, being captain back in 2004, and why he chose Jackie Burke Jr. to be one of his assistant coaches. I think you're going to love that story. We'll also talk about the time when he came up into the PGA Tour, right? Back looking at the equipment, persimmon woods, blade irons, Balata golf balls. You know, we've talked a little bit on this show with some of his peers about potentially having a tournament like that for the PGA Tour, right? And now that we have silly season back, we have the skins game back, wouldn't it be fun to see those guys go out there with the old style equipment, old style golf balls, and see how well they played? That was still time when you had artistry in the game because those golf balls curved an awful lot. You had to learn how to shape your shots, how to control how much the ball spun left or right. So I think it would be a great time watching the guys go out there and play that equipment. Hal and I talk a little bit about that. So, folks, thank you so much, as always, for being here, for pressing play on part 2 of this week's show, and for being a part of Next on the Tee Nation. You guys are the very best supporters in the history of podcasts. Tell you that all the time because I really mean it. So sit back, relax, take a listen to Hal's stories. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Okay, but before we get into all of that with Hal, what's the only thing brighter than your tree? A Sunday Swagger polo, of course. Sunday Swagger's holiday collection features 3 new limited edition prints: Cotton-headed, Santa Suit, and Buddy, available in men's, women's, and youth sizes. Plus, the return of Jungle Juice. Festive hat designs include Naughty, Nice, and New Year 2026. Silent Night? Not with prints this loud. This is the kind of gift that says, I actually tried. And as a bonus, buy the New Year hat, get first dibs on New Year's Eve polos, and you can do that by shopping at sundayswagger.com because nothing says holiday spirit like outdressing everybody at the party. Sunday Swagger, gift yourself something worth showing off. Get them online at sundayswagger.com. And I also want to remind you about our great friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants. I also want to give a shout out to our great friends over at Squares Golf.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Okay, we've come to the last guest for season number 12, and as you guys know, the final guest each year is someone that I know will resonate with you while we take a short hiatus until the first week in January, and that voice belongs to Hal Sutton this year. Why Hal? Because he is genuine, honest, he speaks from the heart, and is a true friend. He's a great human being and a family man first, and a guy whose career should have landed him in the World Golf Hall of Fame second. Let me give you a little bit of background on the great things that Hal achieved over the course of his playing career. He was named the 1980 College Player of the Year. He won 14 times during his college career at Centenary down in Louisiana, was a two-time All-American there, and led them to the NCAA tournament. He was a two-time Trans-American Athletic Conference Player of the Year. Hal won the 1980 U.S. Amateur Championship and got his first win on the PGA Tour in 1982 at the Walt Disney World Classic. And that year he was named the Tour's Rookie of the Year. In 1983, he was named the PGA Player of the Year after winning the Players' Championship and the PGA. In 1998, he won the Tour Championship here in Atlanta. He famously beat, and we all know this, right? Beat Tiger by a stroke at the 2000 Players' Championship. He captained the 2004 U.S. Ryder Cup team. He backed up his 14 college victories with 14 more out on the PGA Tour. He finished second 18 times, had 135 top 10s and 239 top 25s, and I always look forward to when I get to spend some time with him, and I have that privilege again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Hal, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chris. Excited to be on your show.
Hal, I want to start off by talking about your course there at the Darmoor Club. It's received a lot of accolades this year, and rightfully so, because it's fantastic. Update us on how things are going.
It's really good. We're going to stop the membership at 175 members because we're pretty much a second club to most everybody, and we don't ever want to have tee times. So it's going to be a limited membership, and we're almost there. We just have a few left, so the job is almost done.
So with the great work that you've done, and like I say, the accolades rolling in, when do we get a second course from Hal Sutton?
Todd and I, the owner, we've talked about building another golf course where I would follow the 13 principles that Alistair McKenzie believed made a great golf course. We've got a great piece of property right beside this. It'll, again, just be a golf club. At that point, it'd be a 36-hole golf club, no real estate involved, and probably go to 350 members when we do that. And it's, you know what? He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to make a difference in Texas golf, and I think we have. I mean, it's a pretty special place.
Hal, you've spent the majority of your life playing the game of golf, and now you're giving back to the game through your course design work. That's going to be a legacy that'll far outlive you, which is fantastic. Plus, you do it through your podcast and interacting with fans. You're touching people's lives, helping to grow the game. On the opposite side of that coin, professional golf wasn't always so kind to you. People's expectations were very lofty of you early on. They got in your ear telling you what you should do. Being the Ryder Cup captain, I'm sure back in 2004, was no easy assignment, but a great honor. Talk about the tug of war that golf has been for you, from being a blessing to sometimes being a curse. At what point did the blessing side start to win out?
That's a great question. You know, I guess the only way I can answer that is, Chris, when you live your life and you stay in one arena for so long, you're going to have ups and downs. And, you know, I had my share of ups and downs. And, if anything, I had early success, which created lofty expectations out of everybody. And, and for me, maybe I didn't think it came a little bit too easy for me on the front end of it. And it was much harder than that. And as I began to figure out it was harder than that, I failed people's expectations, and which, I played golf for me. I didn't know I was playing for everybody else because everybody was weighing in on how disappointed they were. I can't even imagine what it would be like. Gambling wasn't even part of golf at that point. I mean, I don't know what these guys are, dealing with now with gamblers. The game has changed so much. I'm glad I played golf when I played golf. I played with the greats. I played with Mr. Palmer and Mr. Nicholas and Trevino and Player. And I mean, I played a lot of golf with all these guys. And Had the good fortune of working with Byron Nelson and Jackie Burke. My dad was a member at Shady Oaks, which is where Mr. Hogan hung out for all those years. I had a blessed early part of my life as far as golf was concerned. And, I'll be 68 my next birthday, and I look back at it and so many blessings that I've had. And, I've got both hips replaced in my left knee now. And Chris, I spent my whole life trying not to be mediocre in golf, and I'm really good at mediocre now.
How you mentioned Jackie Burke, and when you were the Ryder Cup captain in 2004, you picked him to be one of your assistant captains. And I was curious, he captained the team twice, including in 73 when Mr. Nicholas and Mr. Palmer were both on the team. And I know Mr. Burke was someone that you worked on your game with, is very special to you, a Texas native. But was part of the reason why you wanted him to be as an assistant captain on that team because of his experience having to coach Nicholas and Palmer, if you will, on the team in 73. So maybe his counsel, having dealt with those two guys and two of the biggest superstars, obviously, our game has ever had, now you are going to be faced with having two of the biggest superstars at the time with Tiger and Phil being on that team. Was Jackie's experience dealing with Nicholas and Palmer and how to do that part of the counsel that he was going to be able to give you?
Well, in theory, that was maybe should have been, but the real reason why I wanted Jackie on as part of that was because I wanted these young guys to know him. I thought he was the most experienced guy in the game. I thought he was, just a legend. And I knew what a good human being he was and how much he cared. And most of the guys on that team didn't even know Jackie. And
is that right?
Well, I mean, they knew of him, but didn't really know him.
Yeah.
And anyway, I wanted him to be part of that. Steve Jones was the other assistant captain, and Steve had not been in the game for 3 years because he'd had elbow surgery. And I wanted Steve to be part of that because that's where he won the U.S. Open at Oakland Hills. And maybe if I look back on it now, and I was trying to do the right thing for everybody concerned, and maybe I just thought doing the right thing, everybody would get involved in that and put everything they had into it. And it didn't quite turn out that way. I hate to say it, but the Ryder Cup. This is horrible for me to say this, but I think the Ryder Cup is a burden for a lot of the American players. They played all year long, and they're tired. And I couldn't wait to see the points whenever I was younger because I wanted to make sure I had enough points to be on the Ryder Cup team. And playing on the Ryder Cup team was something that I took very seriously, and it was more important than anything I was doing. And I don't think it's that way anymore. And I was pretty disappointed in the Ryder Cup this year. I just, the way everything turned out, the way they acted and the fans acted, and, that's not what the Ryder Cup stands for. And anyway, enough about that.
Well, I wanted to get you take it a half step further. Is that the difference between our players and their players? It feels to me, and a lot of people in the media are saying this, to your point about it being a burden. The guys have played a long PGA Tour season, probably looking forward to going home. There's a month off in between. It's like, now I got to go back and I got to, warm this thing back up and I got to go back out there. And boy, I just would like to just stay at home with my family now. And on the opposite side, it feels like the European players are excited and they can't wait to get there. And it's one of the biggest events out there for them. It just feels like attitudinally that the problem is between us, and why they're 13-6-1 since 1985 is the attitude, or how we view, the two teams view being out there. We don't want to be out there. We're tired from the season. They can't wait to get there.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons why we're not being as competitive as we need to be in the Ryder Cup. This may take years to turn around, and this is my belief. May not be anybody else that shares this belief, but they don't have driving ranges in Scotland and England and everywhere else. They learn how to play golf on the golf course. They also start playing competitively, youthfully. They play together all the time. They have to have imagination, not every shot. There are hardly any forced carries over there. They got to use the ground to maneuver the ball. So they have, in my opinion, much better imagination and creativity when it comes to golf because of the environment that they grow up in. So in America, we grow up with unbelievable driving ranges. We have, technology is incredible, and parents are paying $200 an hour for lessons for these kids. The kids know that the parents are paying that kind of money for it. Because the parents are paying that kind of money for it, the kids want to produce. All of a sudden, it's not fun anymore. And, it's a job all of a sudden. And this has got to be fun to you. This has got to be imaginative. I'll take this even a step further. We've become one-dimensional players in the United States. We point that rangefinder, or we get the yards, and we go right at it. All the greens, there's a lot of runoff everywhere there is, and you're trying to hit these lofted shots all the time to a tight pin. I mean, over there, you got to use your imagination. You hit the ball over here to the left to make it go over here to the right by using the ground. That's kind of what I did at Darmoor. I'm trying to bring some of that kind of golf back. We don't have any forced carries. We've got no water on the golf course. You play over there, they don't have any water on golf courses. And golf courses play hard and fast. In America, we play golf courses that are soft, so you can go right at it all the time. So we are a product of our environment, and they are a product of their environment. And that's my theory. So
how do we fix that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, are you talking about how we need to do things differently from an imagination, and that's golf courses, and Darmoor is few and far between. How do we get our guys to be able to do that sort of thing? Is there a magic bullet? Is there something that we're not thinking of?
Well, I don't think there is a magic bullet. I mean, that's kind of what I said in the beginning. This may take years to turn around.
Yeah.
I read an article where all the golf courses are the same nowadays. They kind of are. And, golf courses are, no one plays fast. Everybody's playing slow. It takes 6 hours to play golf. I mean, it's just over there, people don't complain about slow greens. Over here, people want greens as fast as they can get them. I mean, if you want to be a true professional golfer, you have 2 days to get ready to play whatever golf course you're fixing to play. So you better not complain about what you got, because guess what? There will be a winner at the end of the week each week. So if you're complaining, that means you've got a bad attitude going into it. I'm assured that they're not going to be in the winner's circle at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how this is going to turn around. I really don't. I wish I had an answer for that. I'm glad I'm not involved and don't have to come up with an answer for it.
As you said a moment ago, the person that complains, I always remember Mr. Nicholas talking about it when he would walk around in the locker room, and this player and that player and the other player, they were all sort of talking about how, well, this course is too hard, or the greens are too fast, or whatever it is, right? He knew right then, all right, well, I can take you out of the mix. You won't be competing on Sunday. It was, it comes down to the guys that actually thought that they could win. And he talked about for a long time that there were probably only a handful of guys out there that thought they were capable of winning a major. So he knew that those were the only guys he had to worry about that week. It seems like, to your point, attitude is everything. And if you don't think you can, like Mr. Ford famously said, you're probably right.
Couldn't agree with it more. A true winner is he doesn't care how he's got to get it done. He's just going to figure out a way to get it done. And, at the end of the week, the harder the golf course is, some people will rule themselves out. because they can't shoot low enough on a hard golf course. It doesn't really matter what the winning score is. I mean, it could be 5 over par. There's no winning score on the PGA Tour anymore where it's 5 over par. But if it was that hard, someone is going to win. And you just got to keep plugging and keep trying to go as low as you can.
Hal, you've talked about on your podcast, Be the Right Club Today, how hard it is to keep your tour card once you've earned it. Now the tour is making it even harder since the number of cards being handed out are going down from 125 to 100. But talk about how hard it was during your playing days to keep your card and your thoughts about how the tour is kind of shrinking at a time when the mantra has been for the last couple of years about growing the game.
Well, that's another thing that I don't agree with. I wish they wouldn't do that. They're another way, excuse me, rich get richer in this environment. It's easier for the better player to stay out there and harder for the newcomer to get out there. And it's always been hard, but let's not make it harder. And, they got to figure out a way to have, I saw a deal where Gary McCord mentioned having, 42 tournaments, but like an American League and a National League, and the majors they play together, and then there's events at the end of the year where they're brought together for playoffs. That's not a bad idea, and I think one of the things is a lot of guys feel like they had to play too much. Um, I'm thankful I don't have to run that tour. Someone else got to make those decisions. I'm in close to retirement, and I'm enjoying my being close to retirement.
Hal, switching gears just a little bit, I want to talk to you about the golf equipment, because when you look back at what you played with, what I played with as a kid, when you look back to the 70s and the 80s, the size of the head of a driver was about the size of today's 5 woods. It's a bit higher profile back in the day, but about that size. And the 4 woods and 5 woods we used to play with had the head the size of about a quarter. And the putters that we used to play with, for those that remember the old bullseye, that thing had a sweet spot about the size of a dime, not to mention the Balata golf balls we had. Does it ever amaze you, looking back, how anyone made contact or was able to roll in a putt when you think about the equipment that we had back in the day versus what's available to us now?
Well, it's very different now. Back in the day, the better players had golf clubs made specifically for them. And now they want everybody to play what they sell. And they're making clubs for the higher handicap golfer. And the better players are playing with those kind of clubs. And, I mean, they got big sweet spots. People grow up swinging as hard as they can. When I was playing, you didn't swing hard because you couldn't hit the sweet spot if you did. The tempos were good. I'm not saying the tempos aren't good now. It's always been the age-old problem of make sure you complete your backswing before you start the downswing. If the tempo gets so fast that you don't complete the backswing and you're already started down before you complete it, you're not going to hit it solid. And I can tell you, you for sure wouldn't have hit it solid in our day if you had those little sweet spots and you did them. So, the clubs are forgiving. And that's why guys are hitting it 340 yards, because they're swinging at it as hard as they can swing at it. And they know they can hit the sweet spot swinging at it that hard. So,
Hal, I maintain it would be fun to watch today's players play a tournament a year, maybe one in the off season. We're getting a little more of the silly season that we used to have back in the day with the skins game coming back and that sort of thing. But I'd love to see them use the old equipment. Some years maybe it's the persimmon woods and the blade irons, or other years it could be the old hickory shafts and the wound rubber Haskell ball that Bobby Jones used to play with. Then, people would get an appreciation for what it was like back in the day when you were first coming up and onto the tour. But I think it would be wonderful to see an event and watch these guys play with what you guys used to play with.
well, I think it would be too, to regress here a little bit and go back to Darmoor Club that we built. We don't have any of the modern day stuff. We don't have GPS out there. I don't have yardages on all the sprinkler heads. And I appeal to we've got a couple of blind shots on the golf course. Americans don't like blind shots because Ben Hogan said one time, how can you hit something you can't see? Well, let me tell you what blind shots do for you. Blind shots make you get the facts, and they make you commit to something, whatever those facts are, and then you have to trust that you can do it because you can't see it. All of a sudden, that changes everything. And I mean, I built this par three. It's basically the Dell at La Hinch. It's a 137-yard par three, and everybody was like, "You can't see it; it's completely blind." And everybody's like, "Oh, I don't like this hole." We've had 12 hole-in-ones on this thing in
Wow.
a year and a half, and which is amazing. People are amazed that this is happening, but uh, you know, I'm talking people into embracing a blind shot. The other thing that I try to tell everybody is when they come out there, and I always tell them, don't give me the answer to this. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's only important if you answer it yourself. How many shots in a round of golf do you actually commit to doing something and then follow through with it? How many times do you actually, if you hit 80 shots, how many of those 80 shots did you actually commit to doing something? And the answer to that is, if they were to answer it, would be 20 to 25% of the time, did they actually commit to doing something? And here's the reason why they don't, because they don't want to face failure. And let me tell you about golf. Golf makes you embrace failure because we end up being the turtle, not the hare, in all cases. Very seldom. I mean, you mentioned my wins on there. I must have played 700 events and I won 14 times. I mean, I was a loser a whole lot of the time. And, that's what we love about golf. It's so hard to reach a high level in it. And we all want it so bad.
Talking about equipment, I know that you've partnered up with the folks over at Makefield Putters, and endorsing a putter was something that I don't believe you had ever done during the course of your career. So it's impressive to me that you must have found something in Makefield Putters that really grabbed you in order for you to go out there and to promote a putter. What was it about what they do that really appealed to you?
Well, what I really like about what they do is the radial cusp. It gets the ball on the ground really, really quick. And there's less skid in the putter. Also, all the weight is through the equator of the ball. And most of the heads have three different places that you can adjust the weight. And you can adjust the weight for your stroke, basically. And, technology wise, it's advanced, it's way out there. And, I was very slow to come around to technology, but after I went up to Philadelphia and I was with them and I saw all the technology behind the putter, that's the one area that I really feel like if we were all better at it, we'd all be a much better player. And, you know, that's why I ended up doing it. We spend so much time on TrackMan and all this other stuff. And, there's 26 different functions on TrackMan. And, you know, that whole thing was developed to see how far a ball carried. That's all it was developed for. And, you know, knowing where your low point is and knowing where your path is at. And, I had Jim Furyk on our podcast, and I knew he was from outside in. And I asked him after the podcast was over with, how far, the last time you were on TrackMan, how far were you left? He said, 3. I was left 3. And most people don't know that. But, the truth is, people need to do what they do. But what the technology has done has made people want to be perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect. And I just really believe that if you can become the best version of who you are, whatever that is, you know, uh, do that. I said on your show before, I've seen people that wanted to improve their strength and people that spent so much time, improve their weakness, and people that spend so much time on their weakness that they lost their strength. All of a sudden, they're not who they were. I've never seen anybody make their weakness their strength. I've never seen anybody do that. Not a good player. I've seen some average players turn their weakness into a strength, but not real good players. Their strength is always their strength.
So putting is so much wrapped around confidence and feel. It's like to me in my time in the game, Hal, when you're standing over a putt, when you're feeling good and you're stroking it well and confidence is high, it's amazing to me how many times the ball finds the bottom of the cup. On the opposite side of that coin is when we feel like we could make it if it was the size of a basketball. It doesn't matter what's happening out there. The ball is just not going to go in. Talk about, you mentioned a minute ago how often we are focused on failure, right? We're so afraid to fail. And then that carries over onto the green when we're putting. Why is so much of our mental makeup in the game of golf centered around failure as opposed to success?
Well, I don't know if I had the answer to that. I'd coin it and sell it. But, I think some of us just have the knack for turning a negative into a positive, and some of us have a knack for turning a positive into a negative. Everything they see is negative. As far as the putter is concerned, I would say you need to be confident with the putter. And what gives you confidence? Getting the ball on the ground and hitting your line. I'd sit around in the locker room and you'd listen to people say, I just couldn't hit my line today. And I had those days, as a player. I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't hit my line. I couldn't see my line. And to me, if you give yourself a putter that has all the technological advantages that it can have, then you've got a better chance of making the putt. And if you do that enough, you're going to be confident with it and you'll make more putts.
Hal, just a couple more before I let you go. And like I mentioned in your intro and how I feel about you as a human being, I think you're a great man first. And we know about all the great success you had on the golf course, but to me, that's second. When you look back over your life and the things that you have done and achieved and where you're at, what's the thing that gets you the most excited and brings you the most joy?
Well, so, 21 years ago, I developed a place here in Texas called Boot Ranch. My wife and I have a home here at Boot Ranch now, and I'm sitting in the den at my home here. And I wanted to build a culture here where like-minded people came. And we just got back from a Christmas party that was here, and the house was full of people that loved the game. They just love the game. And that's what I did at Darmoor. And I tell everybody when we do this that we're all disciples of that culture. And I believe that we've got to get back to loving the game. And, I don't care if you're any good. At Darmoor, Jackie Burke built champions, and you had to be 15 handicap or less. He wanted to distinguish whether you got in the club or not if you were a good enough player. And to me, I just want people that love the game and want to be better. I believe that none of us have ever really reached our full potential, or we don't think we've reached our full potential, and we still think it's possible to get there. I love being around people that still believe they're on the journey to be better. And so the two places that I've developed, if you come see it and see the culture that are here, it's full of people that believe they're still trying to be the best they can be.
That's fantastic. Hal, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with the great things that you're out there doing, whether they're doing it online or it's on social media.
Well, Chris, I'm proud to say I'm not really in any of that stuff. Hey, I tell you, if I don't know how you'd reach me, to be honest with you, and that's okay. I've kind of just drifted off into if I'm at Darmoor Club, most every day of the week. And when I'm not there, I'm back up here at Big Ranch. So that's where you can find me at either one of these places.
Well, Hal, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show again tonight. It's always a huge thrill and something that I look forward to when I know that you're coming up and you're going to be a part of the show. Thank you so much for everything that you have meant to me, you've meant to this show, and for being a wonderful friend. You just mean the world to me.
Well, Chris, you do an amazing job. And I know all your listeners know what an amazing job you do, but as I've been on several podcasts all my life. I won't say all my life because I'm that old. They hadn't been around forever. But you do the best job of anybody that I'm on the podcast with. So you research it. You know a lot of the right things to ask, and you're current. And that's what podcasts are all about. You're the king of podcasts.
I appreciate you saying that, my friend. You're the best. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family. I'm already looking forward to the next time that I get to spend some time with you.
All right, Chris. Merry Christmas to you, too.
See you, Hal.
See ya.
Folks, that is the great Hal Sutton. Like I say, just a wonderful human being. To me, that's the best part of who Hal Sutton is. Person first, golfer second. He's open, he's honest. If someone asked me to describe what friendship means to me, tell me all the attributes that you would want in a friend, and I would say, if you could build all of that out, and I laid it all out for you, the result would be you'd build Hal Sutton. He's a guy you'd spend time with today, just like we just did, and then you'd be excited to spend some more time with him tomorrow. If you're having a bad day, you talk to Hal. If you're immediately inspired by, what he says, that's no surprise to me, because that's the kind of thing that Hal instills in you when you have a conversation with him. He was a champion at college. He was a champion early in his career. He was a champion later on in his playing career. And now he's reinvented himself into being a champion course designer. In other words, he's a winner. But it all started with being a great person. And I can't thank Hal enough. And I look forward to having him back on the show again soon. Well, that's it, folks. Time to put a bow on another season of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to all of my wonderful guests from this season. I am blessed beyond words by the people who join me each and every week and by the fantastic sponsorship partners that I have. Special thanks to the 3 wonderful guests from this week that mean a lot to me, Charlie Reimer, Susie Whaley, and Hal Sutton. I'll be back with more fantastic guests when we kick off 2026, the first week of January. You know Tom Patry's going to be here to do that with me. Mike Miller, the head golf professional at Big Canoe Golf Course in Jasper, Georgia, will make his next On the Tee debut that week. And our good friend Mark Calcavecchia will be here as well. I hope you'll come back and kick off 2026 with us as well. I want to thank our friends again over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for being such wonderful partners and for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by then clicking on the Sports section tab and the most recent episode right there for you front and center on the homepage of the Sports section. Or you can click on Sports, then you'll see Podcast Network. Click on that. You'll see the Next on the Tee logo. Click there, and many of the most recent episodes from this season right there for you as well. Or you can find this show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're out there on Good Pods. We're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, golfnewsnet.com. If you have a favorite podcasting site, we're probably on that one too. Just type in Next on the Tee in the search bar, hit enter. You'll probably find us there. But folks, as always, this goes out to each and every one of you because you are the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to each and every one of you. I'm so thankful and appreciative of you. I wish you many blessings and that your wildest dreams come true. Until we get together again, kicking off 2026, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on TribLive or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.